And I said, one of the last things I saw was, I said, I saw you holding a ball, and I saw a ball of light in his hand, and he was kind of playing with the ball, and very, very casually, like just kind of tossing it back and forth. But in the vision that I saw, and what the Lord had showed me, was that every time he tossed the ball back from one hand to the other, it was cutting his hands, like really severely cutting his hands. In fact, right at his wrist, what I saw in the vision was his hands were almost cut off. And I said, does that ring a bell to you? Does that make any sense? And he said, yes. He said, there's something that I play with that's, it has to do with the occult. And he said, it's like a ball. And he said, and they asked me to do things that are associated with whatever it was he was playing with. And he said, I saw in a vision my hands being cut. And he said, I knew that what they were asking me to do was actually hurting me. And I said, Jesus told me to tell you that your hands represented your usefulness to the kingdom of darkness. And that as soon as your hands had been completely severed, you would be no more use to the kingdom, and they would actually kill you. And he said, I always knew that. And almost everything that I'd said, he'd said, like he had this feeling, but also at the same time, the temptation for the power was so strong. And he was also a little bit afraid to be without his power, because then how would he protect himself? If the power was gone, but the demons were still there, he wouldn't have anything. And so he was, he always said that he felt like it was hurtful, it wasn't good, it was fearful, but he was also, afraid to let go of the power. And so by this time, I think I've got his attention a little bit, and he's leaning in. But what interested me, and Mike and I had talked about this later, was that he didn't seem overly impressed that I had power. That seemed to make sense to him. If I was really speaking on behalf of God, that I should have power. And I think if I hadn't, it wouldn't have meant anything to him. That he said that many times people told him that it was one or the other. You could either have demons and power, or you could be without the demons and be powerless. And so Mike and I just began to share with him that he was created for power, that he was created in the image of God, and God is the all-powerful one, and he was created to be a son of God. So of course he should have power, and we as Christians should all be functioning in power, but our power would be for good. Our power would be to lift up and to edify and to let people know that they're loved by God and they were created by God. And he said, I've always wanted to help people. Now he's very soft. By this time in the conversation, his body language has softened and his face had softened, and he said, I've always wanted to do good and I've always wanted to help people. I just haven't known how. And then he began to tell me about something that happened when he was a little boy. He said that when I was a little boy, a demon came to me, and he said that when he came, he touched me and I got sick. And he said, I literally got sick. He said I was very, very ill as a child as a result of this demon coming and touching me. And he said one night, when I was about to go to sleep, he said a man came all dressed in white. And he said he just walked right into my bedroom. And he said, he looked at me and he said, this isn't a vision. This is like, I could touch you right now. He said, this is how the man walked in. He said, I felt him when he touched me. I could feel him just like I could feel you. And he said he was all dressed in white, and he came and he touched me on my forehead. And when he touched me, sorry, it just made me cry. He was immediately healed. And he said all the sickness and all the disease left his body. And he said he felt so good. The man felt, when he came into the room, he felt so good. And the man said to him, someday I'm coming back and you'll see me again the same way that you've seen me today. And then he disappeared. And he said he wasn't sick after that at all. And he said he always wondered who the man was. He knew he was good, and he knew that he was coming back again. He believed him, and he knew that he had healed him, but he didn't know his name. And he said that later somebody had talked about Jesus. And when he had heard about Jesus, he thought, I think that that's the man that came to me when I was a little boy. And then when we were talking to him that day, he said, this Jesus that you're telling me about, this is the man that came to me when I was a little boy. And he said he was going to come again. And so it was like the Lord was just beginning to put all of the pieces of the puzzle together for him. It was so amazing, so beautiful. And so we began to share with him about the full gospel. We began to tell him that he could be free and that his girlfriend could be free, that they could both walk in love and walk in power, but they didn't have to be tormented, not one more day of their life, that they could leave our office that day completely set free. And we began to share with them about the full gospel. We started because we're in China and they don't know about Jesus. There's no, they haven't been to Sunday school. They've never heard anything. So they don't know any of the story of our Savior. And so we have to start from Genesis and go to Revelation and tell them the whole story. And so we did. We just shared with them the gospel and about just God's great love for them and for the world, and asked them, if they wanted to receive Jesus as their Lord. And they both said yes. They both said, yes, we want this. If there's a way that we can be free, and if there's a God that is the God of all gods, yes, we want this. But how do we do that? And so we began talking to them about deliverance and about two things in particular. The first one was about forgiveness. And we began to share the story with them about the stories in the Bible about forgiveness and how important it is for us to forgive, because God forgave us of everything. And we just explained to them, God is about to forgive you for everything that you've ever done in your life that has been hurtful or harmful. He's about to give you a new life and a new birth and a new family and a new baptism. It's a new day for you, and He's just wiped the slate clean. And the only thing He asks of you is that you would do the same for other people. And they said, okay, they could do that.